You know what the North Sea looks like when it burns. It doesn't look like a disaster movie. It looks like the sun crashed into the ocean. They told us Piper Alpha was the safest rig in the world, an impenetrable fortress of steel. But do you know what brought it down? Not a torpedo, not a storm, not even God. It was a piece of paper. A white permit form with a grease stain sitting in a dark drawer while 167 men burned. My name is Ed. I survived the night the sea caught fire, and I'm going to tell you how a simple blueprint error turned a sanctuary into a tomb.
July 6th, 1988. Just another Wednesday on the Steel Island. Life offshore is a rhythm. Eat, sleep, drill, repeat. The constant hum of the turbines becomes your silence. You stop hearing the vibration until it stops. I'd just promised my daughter I'd call her on Thursday. She was 7. She wanted to tell me about her swimming lesson. I never made that call. The shift change happened at 6 p.m. That's where the crack in the armor started. Not in the metal, but in the minds of men. The day crew left, the night crew arrived. Tired eyes meeting tired eyes. A rushed handover in a noisy room. Information lost in the static.
Here is the mechanism of the murder. Condensate pump A. It was missing a pressure safety valve, removed for routine checks. Where that valve used to be, they placed a blind flange, a temporary metal disc. It wasn't rated for high pressure. It was hand-tightened. It was a placeholder. There was a permit for this, a bright red warning tag that screamed, "Do not operate." But that permit wasn't on the pump. It was filed away in the office, hidden in a stack of paperwork. 21:45. Pump B trips. Routine shutdown. The control room lads, good men just following the board, saw green lights for pump A. They didn't see the blind flange. They didn't see the missing valve. They only saw the system telling them, go. They hit the switch. They pushed 1,800 psi of gas into a disc meant to hold nothing.
10 p.m. The rig didn't just explode. It groaned. A deep, tearing roar that came up through your boots. Then, darkness. Then, alarms. The blind flange failed instantly. Gas sprayed into Module B, found a spark, and the world turned orange. We ran to the accommodation block, the safe zone, fireproof walls. We huddled there, waiting for helicopters, waiting for the systems to save us. But Piper Alpha wasn't just a rig, it was a hub. It was connected to other platforms, Tartan and Claymore, by massive underwater pipes, arteries of gas. This is the part that haunts me. The other platforms, they saw the fire, they saw us burning, but their procedures said, keep pumping until ordered to stop. And our control room, it was already gone. There was no one to give the order. So they kept pumping gas into the fire, feeding the beast. 22:20, the Tartan riser ruptured. Imagine a blowtorch the size of a skyscraper, 30 tons of gas per minute. The noise was so loud it erased your thoughts. It melted the steel cranes like they were made of wax.
The safe zone was becoming an oven. The walls were cooking us. We had a choice, burn or jump. 175 feet down into the North Sea. I looked at the water. It was reflecting the fire like a mirror of hell. I didn't want to jump, but the floor was melting beneath my feet. I closed my eyes. I thought of my daughter, and I stepped into the void. 33. That's how many of us made it out of 229. Weeks later, they found that permit, buried in the wreckage, charred but legible. Pressure safety valve removed. Do not operate. The system worked on paper. The blueprint was perfect. But blueprints don't account for human nature. They don't account for a rushed handover, or a file in a drawer, or the hesitation to shut down a pipeline because the rulebook says wait. That is blueprint decay, when we trust the paperwork more than the reality staring us in the face. I still smell the smoke sometimes when I'm safe at home. Plastic burning, or oil in a hot pan. They told us it was the safest rig in the North Sea. I guess they forgot to read the fine print.
My shift is over. Yours just started. Subscribe and hit like. I'll see you at the next disaster.